Truth or Dare? Trouble Films is back with a whole new take on this slumber party staple. And let me tell you, Truth or Dare was my favorite slumber party game when I was growing up. Truth or Dare explores desire during a pandemic in a way that seems natural, lighthearted, lusty, and healing. The virtual orgy took place in late May 2020 while performers were sheltered in place in their homes around the world. Truth or Dare is on sale at troublefilms.com/shop along with other works made by queer porn stars. This is a collective release, meaning that it's co-owned by the performers, and you can also get it by reaching out to any of the stars of the film: Sin Sage, Estelle Bathory, Drake Manowar, Miss Mary Jane, Lita Lecherous, and Chelsea Poe. Welcome to the Peepshow Podcast.
News and stories from the sex industry.
With Jessie and PJ Sage. Welcome back to another episode of the Peepshow Podcast. Today is a special edition of the Peepshow Podcast. It is Peepshow After Dark. We're having a little celebration for Courtney Trouble's birthday, and we're also celebrating their 20 years in the industry. We're going to be talking about sex work, their history, and lots more.
Hey, I'm Adrian, one of the hosts of After Adult Podcast. My porn name should be Mozart Fremont, but you probably know me better by my actual porn name, Siri.
I'm Rachel, but my porn name would be Woody 16th Avenue.
After Adult is a podcast about life and porn.
I don't actually watch porn.
I don't really watch that much porn either. I probably watch more than you, but I mean, most of the time it kind of would feel like going to work on my day off.
You 100% watch more than me, because I don't watch porn. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for After Adult.
Or visit afteradult.com and follow us on Instagram at afteradult.
Welcome back. It's just me today. PJ is busy working on his dissertation. And I have a really special episode today that I'm really excited about. So Courtney Trouble, who is our marketing liaison, is joining me today, and not with Peepshow business, but rather because it is their 38th birthday. And that means for them that it marks their 20 years in the industry. They got into sex work at 18. So they wrote an article for our website about what they've learned over the 20 years that they've spent in the sex industry. And not we, because PJ's not here, but I'm going to talk to them a little bit about that. But when I say a little bit about that, I mean a little bit, because we actually decided to have a fun birthday celebration for their birthday. So it's a little lighthearted and also a little serious as well. We talk about our careers in sex work. We talk about things that they've learned. We also talk about smoking blunts, which I know nothing about, so it's a little embarrassing. You guys can skip over that part. We talk about all kinds of things. Anal, sex toys, lingerie, our lives. So I'm looking forward to you guys listening to this one. It's longer. It's a longer form one because it was a party. So we hope that you enjoy the party with us. What else is going on in Peep Show land? Let me think. Today in my column, I put out an article that features interviews with phone sex clients about why they seek phone sex. And those were really interesting conversations. We have Courtney's article coming out today on what they've learned. And that is it for this week. I hope you guys have all had a good week, and I hope you enjoy our party. Oh, last thing I wanted to say is that in the absence of PJ being there, and I think everybody who listens to this podcast knows that he's the more technical one than me, I think that I recorded on the wrong microphone. And so my audio track for the conversation with Courtney does not sound as good as it should. So I apologize for the sound quality. However, I think you'll still have fun at our Peep Show After Dark.
Thanks for joining us today. Jessie and I are dedicated to platforming sex worker voices and covering important political issues for those in the sex trades. but we can't do it without your help.
If you believe in our mission, find us at patreon.com/Peepshow Podcast and show us some love.
We're also seeking advertisers to help us grow. Thanks for helping us make Peepshow happen.
We're here with Courtney. We're not here.
We're
I'm
here.
I usually say we're here because PJ is usually here, but PJ is busy these days. So Courtney Trouble is here with me. Hi.
Hi. Welcome to Peepshow After Dark. See,
Yes.
I just want to take over the podcast.
So we should say it's your birthday.
It's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me to come and talk with you and be like a little guest co-host. I'm hoping to detour your show in every way.
So because it's Courtney's birthday, we decided we would have a kind of fun episode. So I have a glass of wine.
I have a birthday blunt. It is 1 gram, tobacco free.
I know nothing about marijuana, so I don't even know what 1 gram means. Like, what does that mean? Tell me what that means.
Okay, so if you were to like buy weed, you would like buy like an eighth from someone, which is like an eighth of an ounce. So a gram is 1 gram of weed.
So it's like 8 times as much as what you would buy? Like, what would you usually, what does like a person have in like one sitting?
Oh my God, in one sit. So doses are different for everyone, but I will smoke this entire 1 gram blunt with you because it is my birthday. And I mean, that's pretty normal. I smoke a lot of weed. I'm a pretty heavy smoker. So that's good for me. Maybe that and like, you know, a bowl in the morning or something like that. But like, I also dab. But like, if I were just going to get stoned with you.
But dabbing is like that pen, right?
Yeah, it's like a concentrate. So you like heat up the
Okay.
concentrate and then you like, it's more like vapor.
I only know that word from my kids.
Well, I mean, I guess jury's out on whether it's safer or not, but like it's a little bit stronger. So you take less of it. So and it's not smoke, it's vapor.
Okay.
So it's way better for your lungs. Although if you end up with like a bad cartridge or a bad concentrate or something, you know, just like any drug, you want to make sure that you're getting like something that's organic or at least like self-regulated.
So when I was going through like a pretty ugly divorce, because I did go through a pretty ugly divorce, my friend showed up and she was like, I know what will help you. And she brought me over some weed and like a pipe to smoke it in, and I smoked it, but I still don't know anything about it. That's like the only time in my life that I've ever smoked weed. And she gave it to me and she was like, do a little bit, like it was in a bag. And she's like, just pick off a little bit, stick it in there and smoke it and do that like 5 or 6 times. And I did. And that's like my entire history of smoking pot is that.
Fascinating.
It's really not a good story.
It's a great story. I mean, you just pretty much described my 8th grade experience.
Except I was 36.
Yeah, that definitely happened to me in 8th grade. And what I learned in 8th grade is that you often do not get stoned the first time you smoke weed. Yeah, and then be like, that didn't do anything. And then if you're lucky to try it a second or third time, then you'd be like, oh, that's what being stoned is like. And then at that point, you either like it or you don't, you know?
I mean, I think I had like enough to do it 4 or 5 times and I did it all of the times, but I don't really feel like it did anything. I don't know. I never had like this is what it's like to be high sort of feeling from it.
I met a lot of moms who started smoking weed when we started legalizing it here in California.
Yeah.
Because you would go to the dispensary and you just notice everyone around you is like, I don't know,
soccer moms.
pretty normal, just like you and me. Yeah. And, you know, you pick up conversations or whatever. And she's like, I'm just so glad you can get the little cartridges now. And like, my kid can't see it. And I'm like, oh my God. Moms are a mischievous group. I don't know much about moms. I don't.
You know what? Moms have to live like teenagers.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, you know how when you're a teenager and you hide everything from your parents? You start doing that with your kids. It's like a perpetual sort of like hiding of things.
What are you hiding from your kids right now?
Oh, I don't know. I actually don't hide very much, but you know, I mean, your sex life and stuff like that. You know, sex paraphernalia. I don't have a lot of sex paraphernalia either. So honestly, I live a pretty boring life and I don't hide very many things.
Yeah, I heard you don't like sex toys.
I don't like sex toys.
I came to your podcast to call you out. but you love anal.
I do love anal.
So like, why do you need sex toys when you're just like, fuck yeah, just like fuck me in the ass?
Yeah, maybe that's why I don't need the sex toys. Maybe I'm just like, I like intense things. I like anal. I like being fisted. Like, I like that sort of like super intense feeling. But sex toys like don't do it for me because maybe I don't know how to like, I don't know. Maybe I haven't met the right sex toy, but vibrators I hate because vibrators don't make any sense in my brain. Like I can't register it as like a pleasurable feeling. It just feels like a feeling. So I don't like that.
Do you mean like the Hitachi style or like the toothbrush style?
Honey Daniels and I did a video together where they tried to see if I would like their Hitachi. And at the end of it, they were like, this is the most wholesome video I've ever seen because they're using it on me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not into this. That's like the whole video. It's me saying I'm not into it. I'm not a good actor. I can't even fake it. I'm just like, no, I don't like that.
That's how I feel about like cystic. Like cock.
Oh,
like I'm like,
cystic.
So, like
okay, I got you.
Cystic, you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of, when you say cystic, kind of sounds kind of gross. I'm trying to find a nice way to say it. Penis.
I thought when you said that, I heard cystic, and I was like, cystic.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I like cystic. I have to say, I'm a fan.
I like Hitachis.
Do you?
I don't like the little toothbrush vibrators or like anything like little.
Yeah, like those
novel.
bullets. You don't like those?
No, I don't like any of that stuff. Like I'm not gonna name names, but like anything that's like little and pretty.
Yeah.
Or that you like put it inside you, or it has like rabbit ears. Like I just keep it away from me, please, dear God.
Do you like the Enjoy?
The 11 is iconic. So dildos, I love dildos. I love silicone dildos.
Mm-hmm.
I love glass toys, obviously.
I actually will say I have a glass dildo. It's the only thing that I like, and I like that.
Yeah. So I designed the Double Trouble with this artist who
I
was a
saw
company
that.
by the name of Fucking Sculptures.
Yeah.
And they don't, they're not around anymore, but for like a few years we used to like manufacture these really beautiful like handmade glass blown toys that kind of like looked like a big fist and a little fist attached to the wrist. That was my idea. And it's just like it fits the inside of my body so perfectly.
Yeah.
And so does the Enjoy 11, which is all stainless steel.
Actually, I bought it from my friend who retired from camming.
Yeah, and you can totally sterilize it. I feel like you can just pass it along.
Yeah, that's what we did. And I was like, yeah, I'll buy that from you. And because she was getting rid of a bunch of her sex toys because she's like, I don't know, I'm retiring from camming. So I was like, I want that one because I love glass toys. So I thought I would I love my one glass dildo, I should say. So I thought might like that because it's hard, but I don't know. It wasn't the same as glass.
I also have one that's like, I have a wooden one.
Really?
And I actually got rid of it because like, I think I had it for like 20 years. I'm like, this can't be good anymore. But yeah, it was like coated. I got it from Babeland. Fun fact, I used to go to Babeland when I was like a teenager in Seattle. At the time, it was called Toys in Babeland.
Okay.
And like, of course, you had to be 18 to get in, but like, whatever. I was like a young queer, so I went in there and I bought my first strap on and like, like a bunch of stuff. And like this wooden dildo had always been on my mind. So finally, I got the money and
what was it shaped like?
kind of just like a little bit of like that soft S curve. So again, like
Okay, yeah.
the Enjoy and the Enjoy 11 and the Double Trouble both have these kind of like nice S curves.
Yeah, my
'Cause,
glass dildo's like that too.
yeah, they're like ergonomic. They like fit the inside of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And they're two-sided, so you can either maneuver them to use with another person, or you have size options.
Right, right.
Yeah. I've known some porn stars who have literally done like double dildo scenes with the Enjoy 11, the stainless steel one.
Yeah.
That is some athleticism.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a lot of respect for those performers. That was Poppy Cox,
'Cause
James
it's
Darling
not
did that.
that long.
No, but it's like, what is it, like 9 pounds or something?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's
heavier
really
than my
heavy.
dog. Anyways,
Yeah, I don't
this
know.
is
I
a
had
great
one
podcast.
glass dildo, and it was the only thing I used, and then I dropped it on my tile floor in my bathroom, and it broke after, like, 15 years. So I tweeted about the fact that it broke, so one of my clients bought me another one when I was at Avian. So now I've had 2. I've had 2 toys that I'm like a serial monogamist with toys. That's it. I got, a replacement for my one that I used, and now I have another sex toy. I mean, I've had other things,
Hmm.
but nothing that I just try stuff once and then I'm like, I'm not into that. I don't know. Maybe I need somebody to teach me how to be
I've
into
always,
toys.
well, no, you don't have to. I need to teach myself anal because I like it. It's really delicious.
Mhm.
I'm good at giving it. Very good at
Okay.
giving anal. I love topping.
Yeah.
But aside from a handful of times, I've not really like done bottomed out for the butt stuff. But again, I
Mhm.
feel like I am like an anal top maybe is like part of my identity.
Yeah,
But
I
then
mean that's
a part of me just like really wants to bottom out.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. So I think I've told you this before, but I haven't told the Peep Show audience. We have
Ooh.
like a joke in our household. And I'm saying this because PJ is not on this interview and he's like more shy about our personal sex life. So he's not here. So I'll tell all the stories. No, we had this like joke one time because I told him that like at the beginning of our relationship that he's gonna have to like fuck me in the ass periodically if he wants me to, feel like myself, which he is totally game to do. And then one day we were like making the bed, and I was like, "Oh, the pillows need to be fluffed."
Oh, it's
Like,
to fluff the pillows.
I was like, "Oh, like because every week or so they need to be fluffed." And he's like, "That's how often you need to be fucked in the ass." And I'm like, "You're right." And now the last 5 years we've had this joke where I'm like, "I think I need my pillows fluffed," and that's how we talk about it. Which I think is pretty perfect. I don't know.
I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
It is perfect. Also,
Yeah.
okay, so tell me a little bit more about being a fan of anal. Here's my question for you. Do
Okay.
you start to get grumpy when you haven't had it?
I don't think that I think about
Like,
it
do you actually
that
need to
directly.
get your pillows fluffed?
I
Do you
do need to get
start
my pillows
deciding?
fluffed, but I don't think that I think about it like that directly. I just think it's something that I like really crave, and when I get it, I feel like everything is like put back in the universe correctly.
It's like life affirming.
It is life affirming. I think that I really love it because it's like very relational, and you have to like work with the person that you're doing it with. You can't just like, I don't know.
What is it, babe?
It brings me back to my body.
I got a present in the mail.
What'd you
I
get?
should open this on the podcast, Jessie.
Yeah, open it. I want to hear what you got.
Okay, we got interrupted with a birthday present, and I'm actually really glad that it is what it is.
What is it?
It is lingerie from my girl Vanessa, who runs this label, Alexandria and Nisa.
Oh, nice.
She makes such beautiful stuff, and I know some like lingerie addicts will really be like, oh yeah, her. But I'm a real aficionado. So my first piece that I got from her, I got from a client who goes by the name of Lingerie Daddy, who actually has or
Ooh.
Lingerie Bossy, who actually has a history on Twitter and actually used to go by Maxine's boss and was a public fan of Maxine Holloway.
Wow, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
So he's one of my oldest clients, one of my oldest fans. I actually like have like an emotional bond with him. Like he sends me pictures of food and
Oh, you told me about him.
like his travel photos. And he also buys me lingerie and shoes and like, like the two pairs of pleasers that I have, some of my Fenty stuff,
That's so cool.
and whatnot. So it's not like a lot, it's not like how you imagine like a sugar daddy or something, but he's lingerie
Right.
bossy. He's lingerie
That's so
bossy.
nice.
But
Yeah.
anyways, I bought this for myself. This is a birthday present for myself because I am that bitch.
You can buy a birthday present for yourself.
Thank you. I did not have like, my mom did not raise me. So, I was raised to be pretty independent and like self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And part of self-care is like, get yourself a birthday present, girl.
Totally.
But then I was really nicely surprised because my partner also just spoiled the heck out of me this year. It was really sweet.
What'd they get you?
So many toys. Like,
Speaking of.
like Funko Pops. No, not like sex toys.
Oh, okay. I was going to be like, what's happening tonight after we turn off the Peepshow podcast?
Well, I think something for sure. I think there will be some sort of like birthday sex or
That's
something.
great.
I don't know. But
Yeah.
This lingerie feels really nice.
Nice.
Yeah, so they got me a bunch of little dolls. Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, Notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls.
Oh, I saw that on Twitter.
Oh God, I love him so much. Don't get around me. Just don't. If there is a good Karen, I'm good Karen when Biggie Smalls come on, and it's embarrassing. So we just don't need to go
I
there.
like it too.
Yeah, no, he's amazing, and like I was of the age that like when Biggie and like especially like Little Kim, when their songs came out, when their music came out, like it really invigorated like my interest in pop culture and music because it was just so fresh and it was like new music, but it was also like used a lot of samples and stuff, so it felt historical. So I really Biggie Smalls is amazing.
Yeah.
I cried. That was such a good present.
So I have a friend that lives in Brooklyn, and I stay at his house every once in a while when like him and his family go on vacation, just to house sit. And he lives like on the street behind where Biggie Small lived. Yeah, so I went and checked out his house.
That's really amazing.
Yeah, which was really cool.
Rest in peace, Biggie.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd be the kind of guy to like show up to the AVN Awards, but if he hadn't have passed away, but like I imagine he would.
Yeah. And wouldn't that have been cool?
Oh yeah, it's always so fun when the hip hop guys come through AVN.
How many Avians have you been to?
Most of them since 2010.
Okay.
That's a good question. I think I've been to 8 or 9. I've been nominated every year since 2009.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
That was not what I was expecting. I mean, that was my first film. Roulette was my first film. And like, I put it out through Good Releasing. And like, I'm older and wiser now. And I know that company was advertising with ABN and that they had contacts, the same kind of relationship with ABN magazine that I have now. Because it's a small world.
Yeah,
but when I found out that my first film had been nominated, I was so beside myself that I like literally passed out on the couch.
Did you really?
At the Good Releasing office. I was like in tears. That was not what I was expecting for my first film, and I didn't even realize that was the trajectory that I had in front of me. I was making like a little punk rock film. My friends gave me music to put in it.
Oh, that's sweet.
Like I
Yeah.
borrowed cameras to make it. Like I didn't go to film school. The scene turned out pretty good. I ended up calling it Teenage Feeling because it just like felt like this really sweet, innocent sort of like
Mm,
first time teenage crush thing. And we were
yeah.
all in our early 20s. It wasn't that far of a reach
Right, right,
um
right.
for us to be doing this like post high school dream sequence. The whole process of like making things and showing things hasn't really changed that much for me like
Mm-hmm.
since then, but it is always weird to go back and be like all of my entire life is like built off of like not like kind of turning away from like fancy technology
Yeah.
and like making something cool just by the pure fact that like my friends are really awesome people
Right, right,
who so I find like a lot of joy in that, but like for me like my art's like a lot about the content and less about the gear.
right. Have you ever had like reservations about that, or were you ever worried that you wouldn't be able to um keep up like that, or did you feel like you were just really trying to do something different that wasn't part of kind of the movements within porn, like the greater professionalization, I guess?
I mean, oh wow, that's a good question. Hold on, let me relight my blunt about that.
Okay.
to preface it all, I grew up like really poor, but
Mhm.
with like a lot of desire, right?
Mhm.
Like I always really wanted to play guitar, and I didn't get a guitar until I took out student loans and was able to like go get one from like a thrift
Yeah.
store.
Mhm.
Like as supportive as my father was, he was still a single parent. And so like I got my first job when I was 14, and like things were not easy.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody ever gave me any capital or like startup money
Right.
for any idea I ever had.
Yeah.
So, when I realized like, like I made something really cool with like this like indie porn site, like Nofo, like
Right.
and like I'm like starting to make these little movies, like, it's like not really like anything I've ever seen before. It's a little bit like some of the VHSs and stuff I've seen before, but like this isn't like the alt porn or the suicide girls or whatever that's going on in like my sex work world. I really
Right.
want to blend my sex work world and my art world and my queer world together.
Mhm.
And you don't see a whole lot of that. And then, for me, I was just like, man, the second someone comes along with a little bit of money, it's
Yeah.
all over. It's all over. Like, I'm not a very competitive person, but I swear to God, like, when the first company that comes along and decides to do mainstream queer porn is going to knock me right out of the water.
Yeah.
And it happened it happened. I mean, it happened a lot, but, you know, it was a good thing. It turned out to be a good
Mhm.
thing. It turned out to be a great thing. I mean, when I moved to San Francisco, like it was only a matter of time before like Sid Lakovich came up to me. This is crazy at the Lexington bar when I was DJing and drinking a Long Island iced
Wait,
tea.
you're a DJ?
Yes, yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's why I like doing the playlist for Peepshow.
Yeah.
I really like song selecting. And of course,
Mhm.
being a DJ in 2005 means everything's on CD. So you just
Yeah.
burn CDs. I had like an iPod. I had an
Mhm.
iPod. It was like a big, thick iPod. And
Right.
I played a lot of Justin Timberlake because when you DJ at the Lexington, which was like that lesbian bar in San Francisco that was around for 40 years or something, all those ladies wanted to hear was top 40. They just wanted to hear Justin Timberlake. They just wanted to hear Britney Spears, and like I
Mhm.
I actually loved them for it. It was a perfect job for me because I could listen to that type of music all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Sid came up to me and was like, "Hey, you want to be in the next Crash Pad, the next Pink and White thing?" Which was this movie called In Search of the Wild Kingdom, which was like a mockumentary. It was Shine's second film right after Crash Pad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it would be my first hardcore sex scene shot on film. And it would be
Oh,
with
wow.
Jessie. So I said, well, yeah,
Your first hardcore scene was with Jessie?
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, they were like, yeah, you'll be like the hot femme and then you're like going to hook up with them. And I'm like, all right, but I want a top. I was like, Shine, I don't want to be no pillow princess.
I am a pillow princess.
Okay, truth be told, I'm a little bit of a pillow princess, but I really wanted to do right, like queer porn, like, here we are, we're collaborating, we're coming together. This person this person is an up and coming filmmaker, and I'm like this renegade photographer, performer type, like, what can we make together? And like, it's like, I want to go against type.
Mm-hmm.
So then, yeah, my very first hardcore scene, I was tasked the challenge of trying to make Jessie have an orgasm. I figure that's like the New York of porn, right? Like, if you can get there, get anywhere. That's like, you can do that, you're good to go. And
how did it go? Did you give Jessie a orgasm?
I think so. I got it. I hope so. I think it was actually a little bit rough going because as filmmaking as goes, I think that I started out on the wrong side of my body, so I was topping with my left hand, and I'm right-handed.
Oh, mm-hmm.
So I actually think it was a lot harder than it would be now. But we were young.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were young. Yeah. And I had already kind of come from a pretty softcore mentality. Like, yes, I had been shooting some dirty things in Olympia. My first performance, hardcore performance, was for photos.
Okay.
Where I fisted my friend on top of a car outside in front of a in front of a straight bar in downtown Olympia in the rain. It is still on nofo.com. I'll totally repost those sometimes because they're really beautiful. Like, this whole setup is like, we went to like a drive-through and it started raining in the drive-through, so then we start making out in the rain, and then I'm like,
I like that. Yeah.
And like, for me, is like, I think that would be like my real like first hardcore performance, and that was for myself.
Yeah.
With a girl who was like a friend of mine, and I think we also really liked each other. So
yeah,
I would say that was my first like porn performance, was the photos in Olympia. But then the hardcore porn was for Crash Pad, and then the queer porn crossover thing happened. But like, I feel like I kind of got left out of it a little bit.
What happened?
I mean, like, and this is like, these are like my friends and I love them, but I think because I'm plus size, I kind of got left out a lot of the like mainstream porn crossover opportunities.
Yeah. Do you think that's gotten better?
Now, okay, 20 years, 20 lessons, right?
Yeah.
If you work hard enough, or if you are patient, you don't have to work hard enough. If you're patient, I think your time will come. If you are slow and steady wins the race. If you, a lot of people talk about like nominations or like certain accolades or, like reaching certain milestones, or like, back in the day, a lot of people would be like, I was the first to do this, I was the first to do that. Like, I think a lot of it like more boils down to being gracious when you don't get the thing that other people are getting, to take that as a moment to reflect internally and challenge. And, for me, I challenge myself to go be a better performer. I say, okay, I didn't win. I didn't get that role because I'm not capturing their attention. That's not necessarily meaning, that doesn't mean I'm bad. That doesn't mean that that my friends are better than me. We're all beautiful people. We're all put here on this earth to be beautiful people, and like, I did bide my time. I did put in my work.
Yeah. You've been in this 20 years now.
Yeah. And I just, I always trying to like practice like this daily ritual of like you are not your work, you are not your
Mhm.
output, you are not
Mhm.
what people think of you, whether they know you or not. you know,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
especially with social media, like there's so much perception going on that we can't really be in control of.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I try to have this like cognitive focus on like maybe not staying totally sober because like I smoke a lot of weed. I'm stoned right now, but like not getting like bitchy or judgmental or gossipy or rude or like call outy to the point where where I'm alone,
Yeah. Mhm.
like who wants that? So
Right.
for me, it's all about collaboration. Like, how can we, what can we make that's gonna like address this in a positive way? What can we make that's gonna be like some glue or like
Right.
some medicine, or like what
Mhm.
can we do to bring not only awareness to a certain subject around like, for me, it really is about fat positivity
Yeah.
and how that coincides with like race and gender and like gender dysphoria and like trans identity and everything.
Do you feel like you came into this work with that like mind frame, or do you think that that was developed because of your experiences here?
Oh, I was a part of a trans fat queer art fag world, like the
Even before
second.
you.
Yeah, like the second I moved to Olympia, I was like like when I was 14, I was hanging out with the queer people in my youth group. When I
Mhm.
was 16, I started hanging out with riot girls. So I was like really highly invested in like punk rock and like music and underground zines and just like anti-capitalist like activism and stuff like that. Like I used to go to
Yeah.
a lot of protests and stuff.
Right.
So the porn and the sex work came long after I was like sort of like radicalized as like a queer trans fat
Yeah.
weirdo. I've been thinking a lot lately about like the beginning, um, because one of my best friends made this movie called Mala Queerche that I have on tape, and
Uh-huh.
I just moved out of my apartment, and like
Yeah.
the tape, has this like really great make out scene in it and sex scene, and then I remembered that the thing that Devon Devine made before Mala Queerche, so like we're talking like the year 2000.
Mhm.
Maybe 1999.
You know that there's people working in our industry who were born after that?
I know, it's insane. It's insane. they shot a queer porn that was like trans women, non-binary Olympia fairy folk like
Okay.
having sex in an alleyway that was all shot by like the car headlights. And
Mhm.
like that was like 2 or 3 years before I ever like picked up the camera and started making queer porn like video wise. And
Yeah.
I remember that like my friend Devon like being like, holy crap, that is some queer porn, dude.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like that is like queer core music. That is like queer theory. That is like our literature. This is our art. And like it just I felt so spiritually connected to it at the time, and I feel like I've never
Yeah.
been properly been able to cite that as like, no, I am heavily inspired by my friend Devon who made a queer porn film and then went on to
How
go do a bazillion other things. He did not start a porn site. He did not become a porn star. He made this one movie, and I'm just like, that's it. That's the
wow.
moment. I was so impressed by what the like fat, brown, trans, queers, and like me and like all of the punks were doing down there in like this little town in
Yeah.
Olympia, that like it started a 20-year trajectory for me, like a lifelong thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so how would you define queer porn?
I mean, I really think it's political.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. I was thinking about this yesterday and it's like you go round and round and round and round and round, but like I feel like queer porn is inherently different from lesbian porn or gay porn.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the way that it's made and sold and marketed, I think a lot of queer porn is never seen by cis people at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
like there's a whole world that I feel like I'm a part of that like people don't know about. It really is the queer
Right.
porn underground.
I think that every single time I hear like academic porn abolitionists talk about what porn is, I think like they're cherry picking stuff that has nothing to do with the work that I do and that my friends do.
Completely, completely. I mean, do you, okay, so here's like after 20 years, I have gotten I'm kind of over like the whole like second wave feminism debate sometimes.
Oh yeah, me
Like, I'm
too.
like, oh God. And like there's turfs on the internet all over again.
Oh
And like,
yeah.
so I'll
Mhm.
like switch this back around to you because like hopefully you've been drinking that wine. Because
I have
I've
been.
been I slowed down on the blunt, but I'm gonna start smoking it again while you tell me like what your perceptions are of of indie porn.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I don't know. I think that I have my own experience of coming into this as somebody who was already older, already fatter than most people who are in porn. And and I'm not from one of the coasts. I live in Pittsburgh. I mean, I'm from California, but I live in Pittsburgh, so I came into it like very much interested in just doing my own sort of indie thing with my friends and with PJ and seeing like what was possible to make like by ourselves in our houses or outside. I mean, to me, this isn't a question about like a move. This isn't an answer about like a movement, but it's an answer about my own relationship to it. I think that when I came into making porn, like it was very much a political project for me. It only became a project about like my livelihood when I stopped doing other sorts of work, which I did. Like now this is my whole life. Peepshow and sex work is my whole livelihood at this point. But when I first got into it, it was very much like a political project because I wanted there to be space for people like me. And I felt like doing the sort of work that I was doing, allowed for like, other people were doing that before me, obviously. Like, but I felt like I wanted to see people like myself and people like all of the other like um you know friends that I've made in this industry. And so for me, it was much like a lot of it has been about representation and like the politics of like representational like politics.
So you see, yeah, you see like porn as actually like part of doing the work that you kind of sought out to do like with academia and stuff because like I guess I'm curious about like the lens we were looking at was through this like feminist
Yeah,
porn
I totally
slash
do.
anti-porn feminist lens. Like did you feel like
Yeah.
you came into sex work and porn like with the like how right or wrong were you about like how feminism and sex work intersected when you got here?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that I I think that there was something about the way that feminists were talking about porn that didn't make any sense to me. Especially like second wave feminist in academia. And I was in philosophy, and philosophy is a fairly like conservative discipline. It's tied to the past, that's what philosophy does. And rehashing arguments from the past. So I feel like there was a very trying to do feminist philosophy there was it it was something that wasn't quite working for me, and also as like a femme, as somebody who was very femme presenting, I felt like there wasn't space for me to like within academia because people who are working within feminist philosophy didn't take femmes seriously. And
Oh my God. I know. Anyways,
And
keep talking.
yeah, and so when I went in, yeah, I mean, absolutely didn't take femme seriously. I went to feminist conferences where I would get called out for wearing eyeliner, and things like that. And I didn't feel like my concerns or things that I was interested in, and I've always been interested in like femme presentation, and like valuing that, and it's not valued in academia and it's not valued in most fields. And one of the things that sex work did for me that was like really powerful for me is that it was a place in which femininity was valued in a way that I didn't have in academia or in other industries that I worked in, where I could feel like there was value to the way that I wanted to present myself and the way that I felt in my body. And I think that that was pretty healing for me. I think it's pretty complicated though, because, you know, the longer I think that you're in sex work, I could do a lot of things that I couldn't do outside of sex work. And I could create the sort of images that I wanted to create. And all of that was really like affirming to me in myself. But I don't know, but there's also, you as a sex worker, you also live under a lot of stigma and a lot of judgment. And so it's not like a utopia either. So I think that it's a complicated story.
Completely. My experience in academia, pretty much every experience I've had in every school I've gone to, I've had issues, which sucks because
Yeah.
I love school, and if it weren't the case that it was such like, yes, femphobic, um,
Yeah.
like if I've never wanted to be like smaller in my life. My God, I could not have been more invisible in my
Hmm.
graduate school experience just because I wanted to disappear. It was so small to begin with, and
Yeah.
therefore every single minute like piece of glass on like my mirror ball of identity was being like over articulated by other
Yeah.
people.
Hmm.
They're like,
Yeah.
oh, but like they're like this about you, and like this is like this about you, and like, and then in return, they knew nothing about non-binary identity politics,
Right.
or transgender artists in the field,
Hmm.
and so I was constantly educating my own advisors and my own professors,
Yeah.
and that ended up twisting my thesis, that ended up twisting my research, and it ended up twisting what I was doing there.
Yeah.
So I lost my train with my thesis. I lost my train with my visual work, and I eventually just got so depressed, and yeah, I just couldn't be there anymore.
I did the same thing. I mean, I dropped out of a PhD program 4 years into it, which is, I mean, and I did a 3-year master's degree before that. So I spent 7 years in grad school, and then I just walked out one day. I was like, I'm not going to fight this fight anymore. I think what happened, I shouldn't say I think, I know what happened is that I did some serious like soul searching about like what's the best case scenario if I finish this degree. And then I was like, then the best case scenario is that I'm going to fight. I get a tenure track job and I spend the rest of my life fighting with white men about the legitimacy of me being here. And I was like, no, thanks. I don't want to fight with those dudes. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
um,
Nor do you then want to like watch little versions of yourself go through the same trauma one by one by
right.
one.
And
And
it
there's
is
nothing you
trauma.
can
It
do
very
about
much
it.
is trauma.
Yes, it is.
And
It is.
all of my advisors hit on me and would show up at my
Mhm.
house and
Mhm.
like had stalkerish behavior because
Mhm.
I was the only, woman. They would insult me. It was terrible.
I got involved with an older person who was one of my classmates, and they were really fucked up and abusive. So I stopped dating them, and I told them why, and I was like, just please don't be in my life.
Yeah.
And that continued to get worse and worse and worse until the last day of school when they threatened to rape me in front of most of my classmates and two of my teachers. Like
Oh
at
my God.
like at a show, like at one, it was an MFA show, you know, this is an art show. We're in a gallery.
Yeah.
The fucking dean was there. I was mortified. So I pretended that everything was fine.
Yeah.
You know, like there's pictures of me like hugging this bastard.
Yeah. I'm so
And
sorry because I had
I never
experiences
got
like
over
that
it.
too.
I never got
Yeah.
over it. I'm still not over it.
I taught a class where a student, because he was older than me, he, I think, was like threatened by the fact that I was teaching the class, and he was a non-traditional student, much older, and he started to like threaten me in class, and I went to my department and said, like, I'm being threatened in my own class that I'm trying to teach, and he's creeping me out, and he's like showing up in the stairwell to intimidate me and all sorts of things. I gave them like lots of warning, and he then didn't do his stuff, and I said I wouldn't give him, you know, a passing grade for not turning in anything. And they had a huge meeting because they didn't want him to sue the school because they were afraid he
Mhm.
would for some reason.
Mhm.
And the dean, the department chair, a bunch of like 4 or 5 other people who were on this like committee, and me and him showed up in this boardroom, and everybody left me in there with him. They were like, I think you two should work out your problems. And every other person left and closed the door
What?
behind them.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They don't give a shit.
They don't. No, they don't. And like those, like I had like a work study job, and when I went in to talk about to do my like Title IX interview, like the lady like did the whole Title IX interview, which I like won't even go into because it was like so awful and traumatizing.
Yeah.
And she said, "Okay, well now I'm gonna take off that hat and put on my other hat," and then proceeded to fire me from my graduate studies job.
Wait, what? Why?
As if she can literally put on one hat and take it off and put it on another hat and do that.
Oh my God.
She interviewed me about my like complaint, my sexual harassment complaint, and fired me from my job on this in the same 45-minute meeting. And
Oh my
and that
God.
was like the last straw for me. That was like, fuck this place.
Yeah.
And it is the source of the problem that also saved me, because the only person I could think about was the independent academic Sarah Ahmed,
Oh yeah. Mhm. I know
who,
her work. Yeah.
yeah, she wrote "Feminist Killjoy." Is her most
Yeah.
famous piece, is that she coined that piece, but
That's
she's
her
written.
Twitter handle too, I think.
Yeah, yeah. We should tell
Yeah.
because we are doing a podcast. Everybody should go check out Sarah Ahmed. And just because I say she inspired me to feel okay with leaving academia doesn't necessarily mean that she wants everybody to drop out. I'm
Mhm.
just saying that as like a marginalized queer woman, she is the Black woman who is teaching in the UK.
Mhm.
As a marginalized queer person in academia, like I think and I can do and have done so much better just on my own.
Yeah.
Um, and that, that leaves a few gaps. Like, for instance, like my next question for you is like, so like a little bit earlier, you said that philosophy was all about the past. And so I'm like hella stoned right now. And I was wondering, since you've done 7 years of grad school and I've only done 3 years of grad school, would you know like, what is philosophy? Is new philosophy like theory, or like how does philosophy get
Yeah.
made? Like how can philosophy be something different than what it
Yeah,
is?
I mean, I think that that's a really good question. I think it's branched out a lot. The problem is like, so yeah, I mean, philosophy just broadly is supposed to be the love of wisdom. I mean, that's what it is at its, core, but it's become a study of like past philosophies. Obviously, everybody has to go through that in order to build up like a knowledge base of like the discipline of philosophy. And then outside of that, I think that people now, I mean, to be honest, a lot of philosophers are doing really pedantic work that doesn't matter and isn't innovative. They're analyzing texts of Hegel or of Marx or whatever, like,
Yeah.
and or Plato. And,
They still do
I
that
had a
in
lot of,
very expensive grad schools.
yeah, and I had a
That's
lot
still
of
what's
people that
on
I
the
went
menu.
to grad school with who were like writing these very long papers and book chapters about translating, one sentence in some book that was written 200 years ago. And then they would get all of these accolades and people like patting them on the back saying, oh, this is such good work. And I'm like, this is not anything. All they're doing is like, there's no real point in this. But I think that,
And it's
I got
actually
into
like
philosophy.
so hard to write something good that it's going to take much longer than 2 or 3 years that you have in grad school to get anywhere close to that.
Yeah, and but there are people who are doing good work, and I think that like there are people now who are working in feminist philosophy, in queer theory, in critical race theory, who are all like trying to use like the theory of like philosophy or different theories within philosophy to create frameworks to understand things like justice or marginalization or something.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
think that but there's still a lot of like gatekeeping, and what I kept running into when I was there was philosophy is supposed to be um a universal theory that deals with universals, going like harkening back to Plato with justice or the good or the true or wisdom or something like that. And if you're talking about the particular situation of women, of queer folks, of trans folks, of marginalized people in one way or the other, of people of color, then that becomes particular and that's no longer philosophy. So I had, which I don't believe at all, but I had a lot of people who said to me that my work should be like other students and some professors who would say, oh, but you're not even doing philosophy. Your work needs to move over to women and gender studies, or you need to move over into sociology, or you need to move over into some like discipline that deals with particular situations, which is actually a bunch of bullshit because what they're doing is also dealing with particular situations, but it's the particular situation of the history of white men, which gets coded as universal.
Yeah, and I mean, that's completely exactly, and that's what I experienced in grad school. It's like this is supposed to be, a progressive, pretty radical, like if, but like still private art school. And the classes are separated as such where you have like contemporary art problems and it's a bunch of white guys being taught by a white man. And then you have
Right.
like the feminist class and then you have like basically a BIPOC art issues class and like it's so divided. And Jessie, I'm not even
Yeah.
kidding when I tell you they were all scheduled for the same hour.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even be in the BIPOC art and issues class and the contemporary art and issues class at the same time. That is so fucked up.
It is
And
fucked
then
up.
and like
Yeah.
you couldn't be in the BIPOC art class and the feminist art history class at the same time either, which is like a really critical issue if you ask me. Like
Right.
those questions live in the same room.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
furthermore, it's then again completely limiting access to most of the hierarchical colonizing works that are then within the contemporary issues of art class because
Sure.
we
Yeah.
are focusing on these like quote unquote niche issues.
Yeah.
So the whole system has not been shaken up, has not been broken down.
I was going to say that's interesting that you use that word niche because I remember talking to my former advisor who worked in race theory and he was a black man, and he said that when he was in graduate school people would say to him, "Oh no, you can't be a black man who's doing like race stuff because you'll get pigeonholed." And he was like, what are you talking about? Like you're pigeonholed as a Kant scholar, but you're not even viewing it as like being pigeonholed. Or this is the Plato person, this is the Kant person, this is the Nietzsche
Mhm.
person, this is the Hegel
Mhm.
person,
Mhm.
this is the race person. But the only person that they're assuming is like doing niche stuff is the race person, which is just
Yeah.
like complete bullshit.
Mhm.
Anyways. that's not about porn, but that's the background I came from,
Well,
with like being so angry about that.
that was very much a very live conversation at my art school, is all the ways in which like people were asked to sort of perform their quote unquote otherness, or to somehow they're asked to perform the subversion of those energies and those tropes.
Yeah,
So it's like this like faux progressive thing, and it's just like, can't we just all make art about our grandpas, because that's what like little Sally Walker is making art about down the street, is her goddamn grandpa. Why can't we just all do that? Like, you know
yeah, yeah.
like
I don't know. And then I entered into
like Karen over there is making like polka dot wallpaper that she's going to sell on Etsy for $500 a yard. Like, I feel like we can all get to a point where we can just make whatever kind of art we want. And if we want to bring our story into it, if we want to bring politics into it, great. Listen up.
Right.
We're going to teach you something. We're bringing something to you. We're gifting you with some kind of energy you weren't aware of. But like, there was so many situations in the art world, really, where you're just sort of like asked to play a game.
Yeah.
And there's so many conversations about like how you play it back. What are the strategies?
Right.
I always feel like I take a multi-pronged approach. I feel like I'm always trying maybe like 4 different things at the same time. Like,
yeah,
maybe I am talking to people at mainstream porn. Maybe I am secretly writing poetry about like how much I hate porn. Maybe I, like,
yeah,
maybe I am all of those things all at the same time. And like, maybe I will never leave. And like maybe I will. Like, it's like all exists in the same person.
yeah, yeah.
So it all goes back to that like judgmental thing. It's like, I just try to like kill that ego every day and just be like, you do not know what's going to happen next, dude.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. To hit the pause button and head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Peepshow Podcast. Even $1 a month shows us that you care and want to see Peep Show continue to thrive. Also, you can help increase our reach with a review on iTunes. I try to do that. I try to do that too, because I think I get anxious that I know that my biggest anxiety working in this field, I like working in this field. I find it like infinitely like interesting and enlivening and invigorating, and there's so much creative energy here, and I feel like it's this nexus of like politics and art and technology in ways that I haven't experienced anywhere else. And I feel like super lucky to have tapped into that after I left academia. And then on the other hand, I have these little parts of me that are like, but what if it doesn't work out? What if I don't make it here? And then what am I going to do? And, and because now I've put all my eggs in this like basket, and now I just need it to work. But I think you're right. I think like stepping back and being like, letting go of a little bit of that, like, control, and saying, you don't actually know what's going to happen. You just can do the best that you can do at whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and like you should always feel inspired to do like a little bit better. Especially if that could be your response to losing something or experiencing a loss, or like facing defeat, or like whatever. Like learn from it. Have the moment, be receptive to it, and like, I mean, that's academia. Like, academia is not going to be what teaches you what you need to learn about like life and success.
Yeah.
If
Absolutely.
anything, it's going to re-socialize you back into like a state of perpetual like miserableness, like when we were teenagers or something.
That's
So
so
we
true.
need to focus on like gaining the kinds of wisdom that keep us moving forward. And I only see that as like generative,
Yeah.
critical, literate analysis and expression. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
we have to be smart
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you about this lingerie that I've been fondling this entire time. Like
Oh, yeah, tell me about
this
it.
whole time. I think I ended up getting more stoned than you got drink warm. I
Oh, how do you
haven't
know that? What makes you think that?
because I'm like all giggly and I don't know. How much wine have you had?
Maybe like a glass and a
Wow.
half.
Wow. Well, you're
Should I be drinking
responsible.
faster?
I mean, we might have to do yeah, you should have another glass.
Okay, I'll keep drinking for our peep show after dark because I want to hear about your lingerie.
Okay, so I love lingerie. She makes handmade stuff. So she posts on her Instagram and thing. You can like see her building the things. And she has this set called the Ramona set. And I have the chest harness already, and it's just this one single line that goes down the chest and it goes around the neck. So I got the bralette that goes with it, and it's just like no underwire. It's just see-through mesh, like tulle with these little velvet embroidered heart prints, and then like a little band that goes around the waist.
What's the name of this again? I'm going to look it up while you're
I
talking.
like
Yeah.
Alexandria Anissa. I can give you the website.
ANESA.
www.alexandrianissa.com.
Okay.
Now, she also sent me a note because this has got to be like my fourth order. She knows who I am. I'm like a mega fan. She says, "Hi, Courtney. Thank you so much for being a loyal customer." Oh, see, I knew it. Enjoy your new lingerie. May it make you feel sexy. See, she always says such a thing.
Oh,
So yeah, the bra is black mesh. It's the Ramona bralette.
okay. I'm looking
And
at this stuff now.
she hand makes every piece to order from extra small to 5X.
Wow, cool.
So when you make an order, you just tell her your measurements and she makes it for you.
Oh,
And
that's so cool.
one
This
one
stuff is so
time, like,
cute.
one time my little velvet top was just a slightly too big, but it was like kind of cute and poofy. But she makes handmade stockings, and I'm short and fat, and she made me like perfectly fit vintage stockings. They're just like so gorgeous.
I need that because I have like the thickest thighs and it's really hard for me to wear stockings that don't
Yeah,
like roll down my
it's
legs.
impossible. I know exactly what you mean. I know
And I
exactly what
really
you
like
mean.
them. I think they're very sexy, but then they start rolling down because I don't know, they're just too thick.
They're not too thick. The
They're
the
too thick for those
the
stockings,
size,
but not.
yeah, the stockings just weren't designed properly.
Yeah, I agree
Unlike,
with you.
so that's why you need stocking garters, which
Yeah.
is so I've been getting a lot of garters lately, and I had my eye on this one. Are you on this site again? Is
Yes.
there a fawn garter skirt? Are you seeing that?
FAWN.
Yeah, I got it in red. So it has like this tiny little lace waist, and then these beautiful
Oh,
like
that's cute.
red
Yeah.
garters, and then this like flouncy little skirt,
Mhm.
like a fawn skirt, and like a cheerleader skirt.
Yeah, that's very cute.
Cheerleader skirt.
So, knowing
Um,
my like body type, what kind of lingerie
it's
would you pick
gorgeous.
for me?
Hmm. High waisted, like a high waisted, like a full strappy. Like I want you to wear like the whole, like head to toe bondage set, like strappies
Yeah,
everywhere.
I think that'd be
So
really
like
sexy.
a really like a small, like a little small thing around your waist, and then like something that kind of like maybe like the Ramona bralette that's like see through, but then like
Mhm.
lots and lots of satin straps everywhere. And then
That would be
your thighs are gorgeous. And I think instead of wearing stockings, what you could do is like some of those bondage sets have these like leather garter thigh high strappy thingies.
Mhm.
You should follow the lingerie addict because I'm gonna sit here and say strappy thingies. I don't know what I'm talking about. But these like garter belt things that are on your thighs, and
Okay.
they're really sexy. So like little
Mhm.
straps that go around your thighs and then little straps
I
that
know what you're
go
talking
up
about.
your
Yeah.
hips. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
those would look really good on you.
Okay, I'll look for stuff like that.
I also really like the one piece that you wear in your NoFo set
That was a present from a client.
because you debuted on NoFo this month. That was sweet.
Yeah.
That was really sweet. You're so perfect on that site. I can't believe we haven't
Oh,
done that before.
I
Now
want to do it
that
again. I liked it.
now that I'm like Trouble Films Lockdown Edition, I pretty much only buy content now. Like I'm not making anything new for the foreseeable
Mhm.
future. But like a lot of people like still have cool stuff out there, you know. So
Yeah.
recycling some stuff, and like
Yeah.
finally being able to buy content from awesome people in the community,
Yeah.
such as
So,
yourself.
talk a little bit about your NoFo site.
Oh my gosh. I have not updated it every single week of my life, but it's been live every single week of my life since I was 19 years old.
Wow, that's a long stretch.
It has mostly been built on WordPress, which is an open source platform
Mhm.
for just about this whole time, although there was definitely like some really early versions. You can definitely type in nofo.com on the Wayback Machine
On
and
the
you
what?
on the Wayback Machine on archive.org. You can
Oh.
type in, you can see the history. There's a snapshot from 2003. I think there's a snapshot from 2002, but I think it's basically just the 404. Like it's like the very first page.
Yeah.
But like I was poking around the beginning of nofo.com the other day just to look. Oh my God, my name. I'm so embarrassed, but maybe people won't be mad at me. It was Christina Fagulera.
That was your first name?
Yes. Which I
When did you become
recognize.
Courtney? When did you become Courtney Trouble?
So much later, girl.
Yeah.
See, it was sneaky though because I'm trans. I'm trans. Like
Mhm.
I spend a lot of my personal time like boy identified. So, I would call myself Chris for short, like Kris.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
to have a name like Chris in porn would have been really helpful for me.
Yeah.
But I changed my name
So, I wanna
because
ask you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I didn't think I was gonna get any followers. It was
Mhm.
it was a drag name. I was doing porn drag in Olympia with my queer friends.
Yeah. So
you know.
so what is it like for you to have this, like, Courtney Trouble identity that is separate from the one that you have in your personal life?
I mean, it's almost never not been an issue because then this next thing that happened is that when I started going by Courtney Trouble, like then I didn't have that was just my punk name, and then I didn't have a fake name. So when other sex workers or porn stars meet me as Courtney Trouble or meet me as Courtney, they're like, it's okay. So when you're like hanging out with your other sex worker friends, and they're like,
Mhm.
oh, you can call me Sarah, and you're just like, oh my God, I reached the next level with my
Yeah.
friend. I reached the next level. We are on a whole new plane. This is my friend. She told me her
Mhm.
name.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Courtney.
My name is Jessie.
Oh, so we never had that problem.
Yeah, no.
See?
And I'm
Yeah.
glad, actually. I mean, I used to cam under a different name, and it wasn't working for me. And I realized that I needed to work under my own first name to feel like connected to what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, so then that went the totally opposite direction, in which now
Mhm.
when clients call me Courtney, I'm like, oh God, why did I do this? Like sometimes,
Yeah.
and they're like more creepier shout outs or whatever.
Yeah.
And especially when it like coincides with misgendering and stuff. So when I went to grad school, I gave myself a new name that I could give people that wasn't Courtney,
Right.
so that I could have like that kind of like, and I realized that I actually needed to have like some sort of gestural way to say like I want to offer you more intimacy than like this like a financial transaction relationship or like this sort of like
Yeah.
fan muse thing, you know.
Mhm.
I just needed like a simple name. So now I
Yeah.
do have a simple name, and I have realized like the importance, of having like a porn name is not necessarily about like physical safety, although like let's be real, a lot of it is. We don't live in a perfect
Yeah.
society, um,
Right.
but it's pretty safe to be a porn worker compared to a lot of other things. For me, the name
Mhm.
thing is a lot about spirituality.
Yeah,
it
that's
it's a,
interesting.
for me it's about a spiritual separation, and that's why like there's just like you shouldn't go to a strip club and ask like a dancer what their real name is, or like try
Right.
to like get on someone's case or whatever if you like them because they're like a porn star or a burlesque dancer or something like that. Just like,
Right.
you know the real name is a gift,
Yeah.
and I
Mhm.
know that because I gave mine away way too many times,
Mhm.
and I actually had to create other names for myself. But it's not about persona really, you
Yeah.
know. I would say that like, you know, like the Courtney Trouble job is definitely to be pretty flexible. So
Mhm.
my personal sex life isn't I'm not like necessarily like I don't know like chasing dreams, or like I'm not like
Yeah.
trying to like
Mhm.
check off every box on the list in my personal life, but like, as like my porn star part of me, like Courtney Trouble, like I want to try everything. I want to try
Yeah.
every toy in
Mhm.
the dungeon. Like that's just like that's the inquisitive nature of like my porn star persona.
Right. Mhm.
Um that's
Yeah,
that. What
that's
about
really
what about
interesting.
you?
Well, I think I was thinking about that as you were talking, and one of the things that I think it's helpful for me to maintain boundaries having using my own name. And I think that that's like counterintuitive in some ways, but I don't know. I think because I do a lot of phone sex, and because that can be I think a lot of phone sex clients want to push things like to really far extremes. I I have to work to be connected to myself and what I'm comfortable with and what my boundaries are. And I feel like kind of integrating my self helps me to do that. And it also helps me to do my job better because I feel like I am able to like form bonds and form connections because I feel like I am being like myself, or a version of myself, like a little bit like lighter, friendlier version of myself or something. And I don't know, I think that for me, I needed to do that. And also it helped me because when I started writing and when I started doing a lot of like public work with Peepshow, and then also with my own like writing career, I wanted that to be under the same name as my porn name. And writing is something that I do that a lot of people like in my own city know about. And so I think that that was a good choice for me because it would be very difficult to switch names in these like contexts that are overlapping.
Mhm.
I mean, I have a different last name, but I don't know. I think that I like the way I use my own name, but that being said, I have the most common name for the year that I was born. So it doesn't tell people very much. Actually, it's funny because there's so many. We've had so many guests on the show where PJ's like, "Oh, Jessie, say something real quick," and I'll say something, and the other person will say something, and they'll be like, "Oh shit, that's actually my real name." I'm like, everybody in this industry's name is Jessica. Like, I can't tell you how many people's name is Jessica. So I think that that's actually, yeah. So that made me, if I had a less common name, I think that I would have made a different decision. But the fact of the matter is, I have like a really common name for my generation, and it's not even that I actually particularly like my name. I'm kind of indifferent to it, but it's mine, and I've worked very hard to have like kind of an authentic, I'm putting in scare quotes because I actually have some like issues with the like
Quote
idea of
unquote.
authenticity.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, to do my work with as much of myself as I feel like I can do it without that being like an overstep, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
And I think the fact that I do a lot of my work with my like real life partner also makes that easier. Like, it was very hard for us when we were camming under different names, and we would get on cam, and we would have sex with each
God,
other,
how
and
frustrating.
he would use a different name for me,
Yep.
and that was jarring, and it would pull me out of what we were doing, and I don't know, there was something about that just wasn't working.
Yeah. I think I did that with my ex too. We were like doing like a scene together, and I'm like, "Oh, Pepper," and you're like, "What?"
Right. It's really weird. It pulls you out of like the dynamic that people actually like about watching real world couples, I think. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's really complicated though. I don't necessarily think that was like a good choice or a bad choice. There's just like choices that you have to make. And that's the one that I made. And it made sense for me, but I also see why it wouldn't make sense for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, it came through on my timeline the other day, like what would your porn name be if you could do it all over again? And like,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find anything as charming as my own, but like I've always really liked Lick Jagger.
That's good.
Or this one. Okay, this is my username. If anybody ever wanted to send me a message on kink.com, this is how you do it. My username on kink.com was Penny Royalty. So like, cause like the T will like give you. Okay, anyways, never mind. So I am a morbid person. And I was thinking, like, what if my porn name was actually in reference to like giving yourself an abortion? Because like
Wow.
penny royalty is like the herb that you drink if you need to induce a miscarriage.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wonder how many people would recognize the fact that my porn name was the same thing as like an herbal
Yeah.
aborter, an herbal aborter.
Yeah. I mean, that's really deep.
It,
You're telling me I'm not drinking. I'm like,
before.
That's really deep.
But also, like, on the surface, like, oh, Penny, like, what a cute name for a porn star.
Right. I could see you as a Penny.
Penny Pax. There's another Penny back in the day.
There's Penny Trait. She's a friend of mine.
Yeah, Penny Arcade. There's some cute pennies out there.
Yeah.
All right, what else?
What? Well, it is your 20 years in the industry because it's your birthday and you're 38 now, and you got into it when you were 18. Why don't you say a little bit about what you've learned? It's your time in here.
I feel like, so I wrote this article, and one of the things that I think I've always focused on through my whole adult life, and maybe this comes from sort of more of a third wave feminist, like I don't know, positive queer type of world or whatever. It's just like I really don't like seeing people like compete with each other a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I really like mutual support, and I really like seeing people just like supporting each other and kind of loving on each other, and like
Mm-hmm.
I hate, and like that's not to say I don't like award shows, because I love award shows. I think they're great. And that's, for me, that's more about like editorial merit or bestsellers or what the fans think or what the audience thinks or what the critics think or
Yeah.
whatever. But I think amongst us as community, I think we need to be able to put all of that aside,
Mm-hmm.
and forge friendships and partnerships and businesses that like, are built around mutual care,
Yeah.
and not a sense of I'm going to do this better than you, or I'm going to do this before you, or I'm going to take this from you, or anything like that. Because it doesn't get you anywhere, and it doesn't you're not
Yeah.
bringing anyone with you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's
I very much have that ethos.
yeah. I think we all do, and I think we all do,
Yeah.
and like I think it's just something that pops up from time to time, specifically around like award season or even like film
Mm-hmm.
festival season, when you're like everyone's making their announcements, and like
Yeah.
maybe you haven't submitted anything this year because you were like feeling sad or something, or maybe
Right.
nobody
Yeah.
hired you this year, and so like everything you have is like amateur and DIY, and like how does that make you feel if like you were on top last year? Like there's just
Right.
so many things
Mm-hmm.
that contribute to like how one might enter like a competitive situation.
Right.
And like I think it speaks to my history of like being gay, maybe, or like being trans, is that just like, I don't know, don't compete with people. You need people. you need it.
Right.
You need as
Yeah.
many people as you can get, man.
Mm-hmm. I
We're
know. I
supposed to
think
be
that too
creating a
because
community. The more, the
yeah.
merrier. So
Right.
what else?
Yeah, there's enough people who are going to make the lives of sex workers hard.
Hmm. Yeah.
We don't have to do it as well.
Yeah. No kidding. Don't talk yourself out of therapy because you think you need a sex-friendly therapist.
Mm.
Just go find a therapist.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Tell your doctor you do porn if you can't, like I told my doctor I did porn.
What did your doctor say?
I've gotten mixed reactions, but most of them are just like, "Oh, okay, so you were like on a testing schedule," and I'm like, "Yeah."
That's awesome. Yeah.
Or like, "Oh, okay, so this isn't like an emergency," and I'm like, "No, I just need to be cleared for work. I don't have any symptoms of gonorrhea right
Yeah.
now. But if I
Right.
did, I would tell you because I know exactly what they look like or feel like." You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, okay, so maybe that's like, I'm a little bit brave, but I don't know. Scrappy. I'm
Hmm.
scrappy.
Yeah. So you would say that your like biggest takeaways have been not to compete and to make sure that you're taking care of your mental health.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think those are good takeaways.
Uh-huh. If you're doing that stuff, maybe like the other stuff feels like more obvious.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Try to build community. Take care of your actually, I think both of those things boil down to like take care of yourself and take care of each other.
Oh my God. And just like set some realistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Like porn, not a lot of people actually have what we call porn literacy, which is like this understanding of what porn is and how it's made. So a lot of people might say, get into sex work and think that, they're going to be doing a lot of porn and making a lot of money, or that they're going to get signed, to a studio and they'll be taken care of. And, you
Yeah.
can really get exploited if you come into porn thinking that you are, like I said in my article, gonna game everybody
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
somehow beat them and get
Right.
out. That's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen. Like,
Right.
yes, if you put aside enough money, if you have a 3-year goal and you set all of your goals because everybody decides to hire you and help you with your goals,
Right.
then yeah, maybe. But like
Mm-hmm.
that's not how the entertainment industry really works for every single
Right.
person in it.
Right.
So, I mean, sometimes realistic expectations, boil down to like educating yourself about the field that you work in and like what it's like. And
Yeah.
for that,
Mm-hmm.
wow, my stepmother is calling me right now. Do you hear this? She's FaceTiming me. Wonderful. I'm going to call her back. That's so much better than you could imagine that actually being. That means that my little sisters are trying to FaceTime me. So I'll wrap this up really soon.
Oh, yeah.
But let me finish that one last thing, right? What was it?
Mm-hmm.
Peep Show After Dark. I'm stoned.
Well, I mean, we were just
Oh,
talking about
yeah,
like
like
taking care of each other.
know what you're getting into. Do a little
Yeah.
do a
Mm-hmm.
little research. All of my favorite porn stars. Now that I think about it, Angela White, Sasha Grey, Anna Fox,
Mm-hmm.
Lotus Lane. She's so cool. All of these people have like kind of studied porn before they got into it,
Mm-hmm.
and they do really well. You
Yeah.
know, and like a lot of it's just like kind of about how personable you are, and like at some point it is going to boil down to talent.
Right.
How good are you at this? But
Right.
like I said, like I never got to the point in 20 years where I was just like, I'm done.
So
I
tell me
I
right before you
lost.
go,
you
what
know.
is your favorite part of it? What's your favorite part of it?
Oh, I mean, you said something earlier about just like respecting the feminine and like
Mm-hmm.
how when you were in academia, like you really started to recognize porn as like this space that like really respected your feminine energy and like
Mm-hmm.
catapulted you into like spiritual, enlightenment.
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel too. And like I, you know, I started off doing phone sex and then like other, just like other forms of online sex work. But like
Yeah.
for me, like doing the transformation into Courtney Trouble with like, I don't know, the shoes or some eyeliner or something, just like there, or like posing, doing the poses, like that's all
Yeah.
those little things start to like put me in a really meditative space.
Mm-hmm.
And like I really like the way my body feels when I'm performing that kind of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
love that.
really like
Yeah.
really feel well suited to it.
Yeah.
And
I
like
feel that too.
fun fact about Virgos, they apparently are very good at separating love and sex. So
Interesting.
maybe it's
Yeah.
this part of my DNA that like,
Mm-hmm.
I can I have this ability and privilege to take on sex as like a topic. And I
Yeah.
really
Mm-hmm.
like sex as a topic. Like it fascinates me. I'm not
Me
horny all
too.
the time, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder.
I think that that's why I love phone sex because there's something like you just
they
roll
tell you
over all.
they tell you something new every day.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm like, I'm not into that, but it's so interesting that you are. So tell me everything
Tell
about
me
it.
absolutely everything. And then when I was working at the Peep Show and I was working at the Lusty Lady, I would do the same thing with my eyes. Like there would be
Yeah.
like a guy like jerking off on the other side, and I would just be like, "Well, I'm not really into dick, but like I want to see you come on the glass."
Yeah. I
And
love watching guys
they would
jerk
love
off
that.
actually. I
Me
mean, because I do
too.
that on Skype, and I don't know what about that, but I like watching it.
Yeah, no, it really did something for me.
Yeah.
And to this day, like as gross as it technically it seems like it should sound to me, like the idea of like cum tribute. That's
Uh-huh.
that's like, yeah, I really vibe off of that.
I love in phone sex, I love hearing my clients come. Like the sounds of them coming is so great
Yeah,
to
it
me.
feels so illicit. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so intimate.
it's like almost
And
gory.
yeah. It's like this thing where I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." There's something about it that I almost feel like privileged to be able to hear somebody
Yep,
come.
yep, exactly, exactly.
And then I like how they change their voice afterward. Like they go from being like so into it. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, thank you very much. Wow, okay.
Yep.
That's so funny that you know that too. Yeah, there's like a total transformation. They're going from like almost crying, and then they're like, okay, well, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Click.
I love that. I feel so powerful when that happens. Like I just turned your whole personality all upside down. And you forgot yourself, and you forgot your man voice that you do. You totally forgot how to do it, and then like you had to regroup, and then it came back.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
I hate when they hang up on me, though. I don't like that.
I think we've had this conversation before. I could care less.
Yeah,
I could care less.
I think maybe I just like that.
I mean,
just
obviously,
like to hear
if it hits the extra 60-second mark and I'm making another $2 or whatever, I'm like, yeah, personally, I like it when they like kind of like rub their eyes and be like, oh, wow, that was cool. You know, like, what are you doing today? And then I'll immediately be like, oh, I'm watching the Dodgers game. And they're like, oh, you like the Dodgers? And then, bam, you're on the phone for another 10 minutes.
Yeah, perfect.
That's the kind of game. That's the kind of game I do like when it comes to sex work.
Yeah. Do you ever have you ever been in this situation? I feel like this happens with my Skype clients because Skype is going through like night flirt, but like the call is being like charged through night flirt, but they're looking at me on Skype.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll turn off Skype and then I'll realize that they didn't turn off their phone, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, shit, I got to turn this off because I feel bad.
Well, yeah, because they might like also, I would do that.
I just turn it off, but I'm like,
when I was doing phone sex back in the day, I would have guys fall asleep on their phone line.
Oh my gosh, really?
So, you know, I would send an email to my secretary or whatever and be like, what do I do? And she'd be like, hold for 10 minutes. I'm like, okay. She's like, okay, hold for an hour. I'm like, okay.
Oh my gosh, really?
And then she's like, okay, hang up. And then he did it like a week later, and we like held for 3 hours.
Oh my gosh. And he didn't contest the charges or anything?
No, this is a long time. People have gotten so fucked up, Jessie. Like, this whole chargeback thing is unreal.
Yeah.
Like, I've been running a porn site, you know, since 2002. Like, I put up my paywall in 2002. So, like, I have not seen this much, like, I don't know, reversals or whatever in a really long time. Yeah. And it's cruel.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right. It feels like theft because it's like, you know, what we're doing at the end of the day is selling a digital service or like a digital product, like a download or like a 10-minute package, right? So like when they charge back, not only do you have to give their money back, but you have to pay a fine.
Right.
So it's costing you money and it's raising percentage rates across the board.
Right.
I'm extremely high and thinking about how fucked up chargebacks are.
And you have to call your mother-in-law.
Welcome to Peepshow After Dark. Yeah, my 9-year-old.
You have to call your stepmom.
My 9-year-old sister.
You have a 9-year-old sister?
I have 9-year-old twin sisters.
Oh my gosh, that's such a huge age gap.
They're so cute. I remember. Okay, here's my final anecdote for you.
Okay.
So I love award shows. They're awful. Like the entertainment's usually really bad. The comedians.
Last year was terrible.
And this is like across the board, Jessie. It's like any award show you go to ever. Like I would really like to go to the VMAs or something because maybe the Grammys are cool, but like most every single award show I've been to has just been like hilariously bad.
Yeah.
So I go to every single one. This is my jam. They're so funny. So I used to go to the Feminist Porn Awards a ton, like every single year.
Mhm.
And the first year I didn't go was the year that my twin sisters were born. And instead of going, because it was like around the time that they got born, they got born.
They got born.
They got born. During the time that they got born, so I had to make the choice between going to the award show in Toronto or going and seeing my sisters. And so I went to go see my sisters, of course. But how sweet is this? The night of the award show, I was watching the live tweet feed for the Feminist Porn Awards with my dad and my stepmom in a dark, warm, cozy room in my dad's basement. And we were like watching like some Star Wars movies or just like something really cheesy like that, just like family time, me and my dad. And my dad would be like, "Did you win that one?" And he'd be like, "No, I didn't." And he was like, "What category are they doing now?" Like 15 minutes later, I'd be like, "Well, not mine." And and then there's a categories now, and it's like most tantalizing trans film, and then I'm like, "Oh my god, Dad! Oh my god, I won!"
Oh, wow.
And like, "Oh my god, you won! Oh my god, you won! You won tantalizing trans film." Okay, and then I was like, okay, I just got over it, right? And so I went back on Twitter and I was like going through the feed, and I was like, "Oh my god, Dad, I won another one."
So they must be pretty supportive of your work.
I won 2 Feminist Porn Awards in a 5-minute time span in front of my dad.
That's amazing.
And my entire family.
Wow.
And it was just such a like heartwarming moment because not every moment with like my family has been easy.
Yeah.
But my dad has always been really supportive. I've been pretty open about that.
Yeah.
He's a real part of my story, and he knows it.
Yeah.
But that moment was a real moment for me where I was just like, there's whorephobia out there for sure, but the stigma around what we do is not permanent and it's not immovable.
Yeah.
My father loves me very much, and when he found out what I was interested in doing for a living, he educated himself.
Yeah,
because he's amazing. A decent man.
Yeah.
And so I believe that that's possible for all of us. And like that, maybe that hope is part of my driving force is that I've seen it work.
Yeah.
I've really seen it work. And so.
Yeah, healing is possible. And
like your chosen family is super important. And like also don't limit that to people who are just like you. And like, sometimes your chosen family might end up being like your parents or your sisters. They might come back around someday, or like you might never lose them. Like that's always a possibility. I think more people need to come out. I think a lot of people do camming and phone sex and porn. They just like they don't talk about it. A lot of people don't talk about the porn that they watch. I think that needs to change. This stuff could all lead to like a lot of really positive changes.
Yeah. We're totally out to our family, and that's been like a mixed bag. It's nice to not have to like lie, but
it's so different with kids too. Like,
yeah, it wasn't easy.
There's a lot to explain there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love listening to all your podcasts and stuff about parenting because I really don't, that's not my topic.
Yeah.
I'm such a spinster.
I feel like my kids are more open than they would be because I've been open with them. I don't know. I think like as a parent, you always fear that it's going to negatively impact them. And my biggest fears were not about like what they would think because I raised them. And I think that they have like expansive politics that makes room for sex work. But I think that I was always afraid, especially with the younger, the middle one, that like he was going to get like, what if his friends found out and they gave him a really hard time? And
Yeah.
it hasn't been an issue so far. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's complicated.
Well, yeah, it's just like the biggest thing to remember is that like that's just how that is the manifestation of how like whorephobia kind of exists
Yeah.
in those relationships.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the best thing you can do is like, your kids are like so well educated that I feel like they're pretty well armed.
Yeah.
And we're well
I think
be
that
because
they
you have a tater tot. You have a little baby tater tot.
Yes, we do. And he
You
only
start?
sings. He doesn't talk, he only sings. But today he was saying, the daddies on the bus say, "I love you." And we were like, "Oh."
Oh my gosh.
He says
Okay.
the mommies on the bus say, "Shh, shh, shh," and then the daddies on the bus say, "I love you." And I was like, "Wait,
That's
what?"
kind of what? That's a little judgmental.
I know. I was like, how come PJ gets to be nice and I'm like the disciplinarian? Like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
Anyway, happy birthday. Why don't you tell people where they could find your stuff? Where are all of the places? Stone, Courtney Trouble.
What did I say? My last bio on Instagram was like, find me naked everywhere except here. Which just, it makes no sense. I am naked on the internet.com. I'm not, but it should be. And for this interview, I feel like people should they can go on a little scavenger hunt.
Ooh, fun.
So they can go to CourtneyTrouble.com, which is my sort of like safe for work site, and they can go to my art tab, and they can find what I put up last night when I was like, do you ever get like massive insomnia before your birthday, even though you're totally ancient? Like, what's going to happen tomorrow? Hey, I just turned 38. So in porn, I'm like dinosaur parody age already.
I'm 42.
I love that number. I'll be 42
Yeah,
soon.
why?
Why? I don't know. Because my partner in high school, like, had like a sports jockey thing, even though they were not into sports. And the number on the back of it was 42. And I was just like, I like those numbers together. So it's always just been like a good number.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's also like attached to some weird like nerd thing, like universe.
Oh yeah, like the
universe thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's from oh my gosh, why can't I remember the name of that book?
So
it's the answer to like
it's something the galaxy.
The meaning of life is
the
42.
To the galaxy.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, we're gonna get no hate mail because no one's gonna hear this.
People are gonna be like, how can you not know that? And we're gonna be like, we're 2 hours into drinking and smoking. Like, what?
Yay. Welcome to
How are we supposed to know that?
Thank you for doing this with me because
it was fun.
So I've always wanted to do a podcast, but like I was just like add to so many things.
Yeah.
That I'm already trying to tackle. So this is a really good outlet. But one of my biggest dreams about a podcast is doing like basically like a weed version of Drunk History. That's just like stoned interviews.
We kind of did that.
So we got to do that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. And I think weed hits a little harder, a little faster than wine can sometimes. Especially because I'm like the birthday brat, so like I've been there all day.
Right, yeah.
So I definitely got more stoned than you got wine drunk. But
yeah, but it was fun anyway.
We will have to do this again. When is your birthday?
March 16th.
Oh yeah, that's right, because
We're like halves.
We're
Yeah.
halves.
Yeah.
We're perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We may not have everything in common, but we're like complementary tones on the color wheel.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm I guess it's my half birthday
Happy half
tomorrow.
birthday.
Yeah.
Very, very happy half birthday to you. And yeah, we'll do another Peep Show after dark.
That would be fun.
That would be a lot of fun.
We could talk more about sex toys and weed and
Maybe we could
phone sex and
FaceTime someone
that would be fun.
and put them on the spot. Or like I don't know, never mind.
All right. Well, where else besides CourtneyTrouble.com? That's where we left off.
Oh yeah, go look at my art on there, my collages and stuff. I just put those up. The Peep Show Media collages.
I love those, by the way.
I put 4 of them up on my website right now because I have not been this happy about a little body of work in a while. So that's fun. They are collages that are kind of about sex work in the digital era and the pandemic moment.
I love them.
I love them too. So here, the next thing that I want to do with them is I have an account on this website called Redbubble, which I really like. They make merch. So I'm going to put those things up and so I made a backpack out of the Sex Work is Work sticker. So
cool.
I want to release a Sex Work is Work backpack because I can.
That's cool.
Because
I
it's
bet
on
people
Redbubble.
will buy that.
I think 2 people might buy it, and that's enough for me. So yeah.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
I think I'm going to make a couple cute things like that and put them up on CourtneyTrouble.com. And then TroubleFilms.com I've been doing a lot of sponsorship work through my company right now. Since I can't travel or anything, that was sort of my main form of marketing before the pandemic hit. So, I've been doing ads with Peep Show for full transparency, right?
Yeah.
So that's been really interesting and fun. I feel like I'm getting new eyes from the Peep Show media audience. Hi guys. Hi everybody. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm really excited about East Bay Brats, which we just put out the 3rd in the trilogy, and I feel so lucky that we actually got to finish 3 of them because we kind of we went really fast, and there was always this moment of man, I hope we can keep going. So we shot the 3rd one, in mid-February of this year, 2020. And then all of a sudden lockdown happened. Everything shut down March 11th.
Yeah.
So I thank my lesbian BDSM stars every single day that we got to do as much as we did before this happened, because I have been wanting to do more lesbian BDSM, particularly around bondage and latex.
Cool.
And anal and party favor fetish stuff, bimboification, doll stuff, doll stuff. This is the stuff that I'm really into. And particularly as an artist and a performer. So I'm just so glad we got to do that.
Yeah.
Because that really sets the stage for maybe what we'll think about doing when we are able to shoot again. And also just to think that if that really was the end of it all, I'm so glad that we got to make kinky lesbian dungeon porn.
Yeah.
That's East Bay Brats 1, 2, and 3. It's less of a promo and more just And
it's good to be nostalgic about your own work, I think.
Yeah, and it's a new release too, so I'm just swoony about it. And we share profits on it. We all put money into it. We all made it together. We all own it. And that whole crew is really strong. And I just I think we might actually do a virtual East Bay Brats.
Cool.
Since that seems to be possible for us. So yeah,
Yeah.
lots of stuff happening. I kind of like my little lockdown, like creative situation at least.
Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
that's like the dark side of the moon, I guess. What about you?
Yeah.
What's your like
We just did a
what's your
virtual
silver
like
lining?
we
Yeah,
just did
you
a
did
virtual
just
like
do a
threesome.
virtual threesome. I saw that. It
Yeah.
looked very lusty.
It was fun. Yeah, it was really fun. We've been doing a lot of audio stuff, which I also really like doing. So
Mm-hmm.
PJ's been creating like a bank of a bunch of different sounds, like a sound of spanking, a sound of squirting, like a file of fucking, like all kinds of different sounds.
What?
And yeah.
This is
And
priceless, you realize.
we want to create more audios where we're putting
You should
in
sell the package of like, yeah, anyways. What are you gonna do?
oh just like we're just creating like audio stories, and he's like over where he's like taking his podcast skills and like in them while we're narrating these like stories, putting these sex noises like in them as well. So
Oh my
we've
God.
been we've been doing that. We just like released one that was like a 3-part series with our friend Amanda, who we we called her a cuck cake because the whole because the whole story is like she's my coworker that I brought home to have like my man fuck, like that was the story. And I watched, and it was so hot because Amanda and I recorded it, and then we put all these like sex sounds in it, and that was really fun. So we are working on some of that, and PJ's collecting stuff, which is really funny because this means that he puts microphones up in our office, and he's like, okay, you have to like masturbate, but do it into this microphone. So I'm like making all of these squishy sounds with my body.
Also, he can basically make like radio lab porn.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
So we've been doing that, and then some photo shoots, and I've been taking phone calls, and we've been really busy with Peepshow. So that's what we've been doing. And I actually think it's been like a really creative, fun time. More than I expected, and it's been good for us because we spent the last like almost a year, 9 months with PJ like super sick, and so we couldn't really do much of anything, and he's kind of coming out of that and being creative again, and that's been really fun. That's my silver lining.
Yeah, that's it's a silver lining for all of us.
Yeah.
We're really happy about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, me too. Obviously. Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, honestly, there was moments that I wasn't sure how we were going to make it out of that. And I think that I was dealing with like a lot of like anxiety and depression like after he got better, because I think it was so traumatic. I mean, he had a pulmonary embolism, and he got 6 blood transfusions, and it was just like really, really intense. He had to have his stomach drained like multiple times, and he was really sick, and we were in and out of the hospital for like 7 or 8 months. So it was intense, but yeah, I think that I had to kind of process that after he got better, and I wasn't in like just caretaking, and
Yeah, and there
that
does tend to
that
be like a natural dip after inertia.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I think we're both kind of equalizing. Like he's feeling better. I'm coming out of like the post sickness depression that I kind of went into. So, and we're making fun stuff. So, that's good.
I hope we gotta like I hope we've all learned something during this time that like helps us carry forth this like sort of creative attention in the future.
Mhm.
Because it
Yeah.
definitely seems like something I can't live without now. Like more
Yeah.
intentional relationship to what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't really take things for granted.
No, you really not anymore. I never could, but like I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Peepshow episode. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
spending my birthday with me.
Yeah,
You know,
thank you.
every year I usually like stress out about like, oh, we have to like host a party. Like, Do I have to like be Courtney Trouble? Can I just like play video games all day? Because a whole lot could be said about what happens on a sex worker's birthday.
Mhm.
It's like, if you don't work, are you missing out on money?
I know. I had that thought last
Like,
year when
am
I
I
was
allowed
really
to have a
struggling. Yeah.
birthday?
Mm-hmm.
Am I being egotistical? Like all the thoughts, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And what I really want is like for the world to change.
Yeah.
But what I will take is some new lingerie.
And some,
and
after dark.
some money in my Venmo, which is Courtney Trouble. And 2 matching Peepshow hoodies.
Oh, yes, which I am going to send. I promise you.
Which
I promise you.
everyone should have. I think it has to
Yeah.
be this fall's must-have pandemic fashion passion. Needs to be
You are
Peepshow
right. That is
hoodies.
our best-selling thing in the store.
All right. We'll stock up.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Well,
love
you have a good
Jessie.
night. Love you too. Happy
Good night.
birthday.
Oh, yes. Good night.
Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of the Peepshow Podcast. I'm PJ Sage, and you can find me on Twitter at PeachSage.
And I'm Jessie Sage, and you can find me on Twitter at sapiotextual or at jessiesage.com.
We would like to remind you that we have a Patreon account and would appreciate your support. Please visit patreon.com/PeepshowPodcast. Our music is courtesy of Joe Kennedy. The show was produced by Jessie and PJ Sage.
Signing off. Have a great week.